Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's workshop. That is the ultimate guide to essay and report writing for you guys. That's you, university students. So today we'll focus on writing with clarity, purpose, and confidence. My name is Christine. I'm a part of the English support team at the Manchester campus, and I'm so glad that you could join us today for the workshop. Okay, so let's get into it. Writing essays and reports at university can seem daunting, but this guide will break down the steps, tips, and strategies to help you succeed. So, what will we cover in this workshop? We will cover essay and report structures, planning and research tips, critical thinking and analysis. And definitely not least, is how to reflect on your writing progress. So, I have a little activity for you to do. What are some of the main challenges that you face when writing essays and reports? Have a big think about that. Write on your thoughts and compare them with any others that are around you. You can also do that with other students in the same class. Okay, so when you are thinking about all the challenges you face, this will help you to focus and to gain access to areas that you need to improve. So you will identify, okay, these are areas I'm struggling with. Well, how am I going to reach out to improve it? And then you will set actionable goals to achieve that. Okay, so let's look at the difference between an essay and a report. Okay, so an essay and report, they serve very different purposes, and understanding the purposes of each will help you to write better and more effectively. So basically, an essay are discursive and argumentative. They explore a topic from various angles. Reports are more factual, more informative. They're structured and they are structured to support facts, and they often conclude with recommendations based on the data you had provided in your report. So, in your own words, can you summarize the difference between an essay and a report? And what would you focus on in each type of writing? Okay, have a think about that. You can pause the video if you are writing and press play when you're ready to compare answers. Okay, so this is a type of answer example that we could possibly use. Essays explore ideas and arguments, while reports present factual data with conclusions. So, what do we need to do when we are writing an essay or a report? The first thing we would need to do is understand the assignment brief. So that is step one. So before you start writing, fully understanding the assignment brief is crucial, okay? Because you don't want to waste time on misunderstanding the assignment brief and creating or curating all this information based off a different understanding of it. And then you'll have to go back and change all that work, okay? So step one is make sure you understand what has been given to you in the assignment. Check with your lecturers to make sure you've understood what's been asked of you. Also, you can check in with fellow students to see if you are on the right track. So while you are doing that, you can look out for these points. One is action words. Are you being asked to discuss, analyze, or compare? So that will tell you what type of assignment brief you are going to be answering. Word count, very, very important, okay? Stick to the limits. A lot of students either write too little or sometimes we even write too much. Both of those are detrimental. We want to avoid too little and we want to avoid too much. We want to stick to what's been prescribed to us. Formatting requirements. So something that's not really thought about too often, but most of the time in your assignment brief, you'll be given a specific style of writing to choose from, specific font size, specific font, and line spacing. So make sure you adhere to those formatting requirements. Okay, so I have an interactive prompt for you. Okay, write down the action word from a recent assignment. So if you haven't got a recent assignment, you can pull one out of an internet search. and see if you can find a recent the action word from that. And think about how this influences your approach to the task. Okay, so on to the next step, step 2. We're conducting effective research. So first, we have to make sure we understand the assignment brief. 2, we have to make sure our research is effective and is what we need to proceed with writing. Okay, so all good writing starts with great research. The better your research, the better your writing. The more time you spend researching, it helps give you a fuller understanding of the topic and all the various angles you could approach it from. So I would definitely say before you start writing, read, read, read about the topic. So where can you collect research from? You can collect research from peer-reviewed journals, books and academic publications that are within date, credible websites, example, your university page, Google Scholar, government websites. So these are all places we should be looking for credible research, okay? And what I would recommend for you, use your university's online library and focus on the date of your sources. There may be some journals or books that you can use that are old, probably maybe 10 to 12 years older, because they have really crucial information, but that will not be a constant source of information. You should always try and look for information that is under 5 years old at least. Okay, so we want to focus on credible current sources and keeping track of your references. I've always advised students as you write, you cite. So while writing, keep a track of all your sources that we use. It just makes it easier. So you have all your sources in one spot. You can go back, have a look at it, and fill them in as needed. Okay, so we have a quick reflection task for you to do. Are you finding reliable sources that support your argument? So, emphasis is on reliable or credible sources. They would have a DOI number, digital origin identifier number, and they should be less than 5 years old, okay? So if it's not, go back and find one that matches that criteria. Okay, so now we're going to get into structuring and essay, which is step 3. So we're going to look at it very briefly at how to structure. I will go through it in a bit more detail in later slides. So essays generally have a clear structure. It starts with an introduction. We're introducing your topic and your thesis, which is your topic sentence. You'll have body paragraphs, which each paragraph should have a key point. Okay, so when you are deciding on a paragraph, choose a key point for each paragraph and a conclusion, which summarizes all the information. You should have no new information in your conclusion and reaffirms your thesis. So tie in with your introduction. Okay, quick checklist. Does each paragraph focus on one point? Okay, this is a good checklist to check when writing, just to go over your writing. Are you focusing on a point? And have I supported my arguments with credible evidence? They'll be your sources, your citations that you were using. So make sure each supported argument is supported with a citation. Okay, so now we're going to look at structuring a report. So the difference between the report and essay is that reports are more formal and more structured than an essay. They have common sections such as a title page, report title, of course your name and the date, an abstract. Now, if you have an abstract, this will be determined per your assignment brief. If your lecturers ask you to include an abstract for your report, please do so. It may be optional. It is a brief summary of what your report is all about. You would have an introduction, purpose of the report, methodology, how you conducted your research, and then your result and discussion, present and analyze feelings, a conclusion and recommendations, and summarize and suggest actions. Now, as you can see, the essay is very simple, follows introduction, paragraphs, conclusion. Structure is much more focused on data, on facts, and interpreting those facts, okay? Now, a reflection task always when you're completing a report is to check, am I following the report structure outlined in the brief? You will still have paragraphs in your report structure. It will not follow the same way of an same structure of an essay, but it will be slightly different with these differences. Okay, so you have understood your assignment brief, you collected evidence, you understand how the structure of your essay or your report should look like. You have read, now you are ready to plan and organize your ideas. What should we do? So organization is critical. It's important. You have to have your notes in an organized manner in order for you to write clearly and effectively. Okay, so you can always start with an outline. I personally recommend using a mind map or bullet points. So I would put in my main idea or my main topic in the middle, and then I would branch out into all the subtopics I can think of related to that. And then I would build off the subtopics into other areas of interest. So it's sometimes just good to think about how you could start your assignments, what information you want to convey, and how are you going to represent it? So starting off with a draft like this is great to get at all the initial ideas. You can see which areas of research have been looked at most recently, and you have a lot of data to support that. But I would definitely recommend using a mind map or bullet points when getting started. Also, you could group together some ideas for a logical flow. Okay, checklist. Have I created an outline? Do my ideas connect logically? Now, that's very important because you want to maintain a logical flow. You want your ideas to follow in a systematic way and they should be related to each other. You don't want to be talking about the animal kingdom and then talk about the business world without having some interconnected ideas between them. Okay, they're both very different sectors. So you'd want to keep them apart or link them together with cohesive devices. But make sure your ideas are connecting logically. Okay, so now we're going to look at a strong introduction and what an introduction is and how to get about writing one in the most beneficial way. So an introduction is basically going to set the tone for your essay. It's going to inform readers of what your essay is about. You want them to engage, to read along with you, and to see how your argument has developed. But in your introduction, you want to do the following things to captivate them. You want to start with a hook. Okay, not an actual hook like the one pictured. But a hook is something that's going to grab your reader's attention, okay? Yeah. So you want to pull them in. You want to say, like, I have spent a lot of time on this, and I am more than ready to write down my ideas, and I want you to be invested in my essay. So how can you grab everyone's attention in a hook? It can be a thought-provoking question. So you're allowed to ask a question back. And your question will be obviously related to your assignment brief and what topic you are going to be concentrating on. So, example of a thought-provoking question is, how does technology reshape our understanding of communication? So that's an interesting question. It's grabbing attention. Another way you could go about doing that is an intriguing fact or a stat that we can use. So basically, you could pull in with one that's related to what your topic is about. An example of that is recent studies reveal that nearly 60% of communication occurs non-verbally. Okay, so that is an interesting fact. It's grabbing the reader's attention. Another way you can grab attention is a relevant quote. So the example of a relevant quote is, as Marshall McLuhan famously stated, the medium is the message. Okay, so these are all ways that we can make our introduction a little more exciting. I'm going to continue. So we want to use a hook. Okay, then we want to provide context. Providing context is giving our readers background into what's being written about, why we were writing about this, why we chose this topic, and we want them to connect the hook that we just used to the broader conversation of our essay. And then we'll introduce a general field of study. Okay, so one way you can provide context is by highlighting relevant issues or debates within that field. An example of that is the rapid social media platforms and instant messaging has revolutionized the way we interact. Yet, this has also led to concerns about erosion of face-to-face communication. So we're starting with our hook, providing context, and building up a bit more, but in a general sense, okay? So hook, context, and introducing the general field of study. Then we're going to narrow it down, and that's where we're going to state the purpose of the essay. So here, when we're stating the purpose of the essay, we are clearly outlining what our essay is achieving or aims to achieve. Now, this is where we're going to inform the readers of what to expect or anticipate while reading our essay. Okay, an example of this is that this essay aims to explore the implications of digital communication on the interpersonal relationships, examining both the positive and negative effects. So, we have done three steps so far. We've used a hook, we provided context, and then we have stated the purpose. We're still continuing. There's two more steps that we need to do to ensure we have a strong conclusion. Okay, so let's have a look at the other steps. Step 4, present your thesis statement. This is basically the heart of your essay. It's basically saying, this is my main argument. This is my main point. This is what I want to address. This should be straightforward and clear. Okay, so you could use an example sentence like this. While digital communication enhances connectivity, it also poses significant challenges to genuine interpersonal interaction. So this bit will be your thesis statement. This is what the crux of your essay is all about. Okay, but do you see how we have structured it down, starting with a hook, general context? Then we stated the purpose of our essay. Then we have a thesis statement. And now we're going to outline what the reader can expect in our essay. And this is all within our introduction. So giving your readers a brief overview of how your essay will be organized. This will be a roadmap to help them, okay? We want to pull them in. We want to keep them captivated. And we want to tell them, this is what you will read when reading your essay or learn about when reading your essay. So, for example, the first section will analyze the benefits of digital communication, followed by a discussion of its drawbacks. Finally, the essay will conclude with recommendations for balancing digital and traditional communication methods. So here you have outlined the structure of your essay. Now, if you were to put it all together in your introduction, this is how it would look like. So it starts with your hook statement or question here. Then it's going into your context, which is in the general field. Then you're going to have your thesis statement. And now you would have your structured of the outline. Yeah, this outline of the essay structure. So that's basically what it would look like if you are going to put it together. Okay. So we've done our introduction. Let's have a look at the rest of it, and that is writing the body of your essay. So basically, each paragraph should focus on one point, provide evidence, quotes, stats to support the point, and explain how the evidence relates to your argument. Tip, always use transitions or cohesive device words like furthermore, in contrast, as a result to link your ideas. You want to make sure your ideas can be linked together logically and flow. Self-reflective task. Have I clearly supported each point with evidence? So each time you make an argument or bring in new evidence, please use a citation and generally make sure each point has the correct citation method used. If you are using the Harvard referencing citation method, please make sure it is continuous in from your in-text citations all the way to your end-text citations. Okay, so touching very briefly on the conclusion, we have navigated through writing introduction, the body. I will flesh out the body in later slides, but let's look at the conclusion. So the conclusion is your final chance to wrap up your argument or findings. For your essay, your conclusion will be quite different to your report. For essays, restate your thesis, showing how the evidence supports it. Instead of repeating points, highlight how your analysis strengthens your overall argument. Okay. For reports, summarize key findings because remember, reports are based on data. Summarize the key findings and provide clear recommendations based on your research. The research conclusion should be more solution focused and offer practical steps. So that will be based on your recommendations on what can be done to improve, what changes that can be done for the next data collection. Okay, so what is the key difference between the conclusion for an essay and the report? So essays conclusions reaffirm your argument, while report conclusions focus on summarizing facts and offering action points. Okay, let's have a look at the checklist for writing your conclusion. Have you summarized the main points clearly? Did you avoid introducing new information in the conclusion? And for the reports, did I include practical recommendations? Practical recommendations are a vital point of reports. Okay, so with all good writing, we have to make sure our work is edited and it is proofread. So step 9 to making sure you have a successful report and essay is to proofread and to edit. So good writing comes from careful editing. I would recommend that you check for clarity, check that your ideas are easy to read and to follow along, check for grammar and punctuation. This bit always gets me. I have to read and double read and then check again that my grammar and my punctuation is correct. And I cannot stress the last point more than enough. Ensure your referencing is accurate and consistent. Like I've mentioned previously, if you are using the Harvard reference method, please ensure it is used from beginning to end. Make sure your references are captured correctly. You add in-text citations, you add your in-text citations at the end, whether it's a reference list or bibliography, and they are in the correct order that matches your site reference guidelines. Please make sure, even if you are paraphrasing, it will need to have a reference. Any images will need a reference, graphs, tables would need references if they are found on the internet or in books. If you have created your own graphs or tables, you would not need a reference unless that data is taken from another source. So if you are creating a table or graph based on external sources, please reference. If you are unsure about how to reference, you are more than welcome to check in with the library resource tutors at the Learning Resource Center. They will help you with referencing, or you can send your assignments over to the English support team and we will double check. But please reference your work. Okay, and that goes on to slide 10, step 10, which is referencing and avoiding plagiarism. I'm just going to touch very briefly on it because I did stress that in previous slide. Always, always, always reference your sources to avoid plagiarism. We do not want to get academic misconducts. We want to avoid that. So the best way is to paraphrase and to reference. Always follow the referencing style. Keep a detailed list of all the sources that you have used. I like to keep a manual list of all the sources I've used. There's also different electronic ones that you could use. So that's up to you which source that you use.
Hello.
So, hello.
Sorry, I have a problem of connection internet. Since the thing I see don't I try, but now I take a computer. My daughter is better connection. I do.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks,
Yeah.
Alexandrian. Okay, I'm going to mute you now. This session will be recorded, so all the bits that you missed previously, you'll be able to watch it. Okay. So I'm
Okay.
currently, thanks. So remember to cite all paraphrase ideas. If you have used information and you are rewriting it in your own words, it will still need a citation. If you are using a direct quote, please use quotation marks and add in the citation as usual. Okay, so let's get into a writing task. You're more than welcome to pause this while continuing with this activity. Pause the video and have a look at example answers afterwards. So I have a writing task for you to do, and that is to craft a strong thesis statement. So to write a thesis statement for this essay prompt. So here's the prompt. To what extent does social media affect our interpersonal communication skills? So we want to focus on these steps to help us to write a strong thesis statement. So we're looking at what's your position on the topic? How will you structure your argument? So basically, you're going to look at that, okay? What is your position on the topic? And how will you structure your argument? Now, remember, a strong thesis statement shouldn't be too long. It should be very clear, direct to the point, and should focus on the area that you would want to tackle. Okay, and just a reminder, these videos, the recordings should be sent out to all students. So if you could just hold on for the recordings to be sent out, thank you. I'm not sure when they will be sent out, but it will definitely be sent out for you to have a look at again at your own time. Okay, so an example answer of that is social media reduces face-to-face communication, but strengthens global connections, reshaping how we interact. So that's one way we could write a thesis statement. Of course, how you write your thesis statement would be different person to person. This is just an example answer. Okay, so there is another writing task, creating a PEE paragraph. Okay, so remember PE paragraph is when we are focusing on the following steps. I would recommend when writing paragraphs in your body to focus on the PEE method, and the PEE method is to point, mention your points, state your main ideas, provide evidence, provide supporting data or examples, and then explain. Show how the evidence supports your main point. So each paragraph, if you follow the PEE method, will be a great way to move forward in academic writing. Always state your main idea, provide supporting data and examples, and show how the evidence supports your point. So I can definitely stress using the PE method. I have used it in my writing. It has helped me, and I hope you'd also like to use that in yours. So basically, what I would like you to do is to write a PE paragraph for the following statement. AI creates ethical concerns regarding data privacy. Okay, so think about AI. ethical concerns, data privacy, and how we can use a point, evidence, and explain when we are constructing a paragraph. I'll let you have a think about that. So, what I would like to say is write one key takeaway from this presentation. Reflect on how your approach to writing has changed. What's one thing that you are proud about in your writing journey? Okay. I think it's very important to focus on where you've started, the steps you've taken to improve that, and where you would still like to go on your writing journey and further goals you'd like to action for yourself. Okay, another self reflective question is, what have I learned that will have the biggest impact on my writing? And how will I continue to improve as a writer? Because that is the goal, continuous improvement. We want to focus on improving ourselves continuously. Okay. Learning is a journey that has no end. Okay, so what I want to touch quickly on is key takeaways from this presentation. So, understanding the difference between an essay and report. So, essays are discursive and argumentative, and reports are structured and informative. Okay, and steps to successful writing. Fully understand your assignment brief. Like I've mentioned, make sure you understand the question that you are tackling. Check in with your lecturers, use them as a resource, check in with your fellow classmates, and you're more than welcome to reach out to us if you need additional guidance with your assignment brief. Always use credible sources. Try to make sure they are under 5 years old. 4 years would be great. Make sure you are using sources that are recognized. Stay away from websites like Wikipedia. Those are not recognized. When you are writing, plan. Plan before you start writing, as always. Make sure you have clear outlines. There's a logical flow in it. Okay, so just touching base very quickly on essays and report structures. Essays have a very simple introduction, main body, conclusion. Reports have different structure, title page. An abstract is optional depending on whether it's been asked by your assignment brief. An introduction, methodology, results, discussion, conclusion, and recommendations. Recommendations are very important also. Okay, so that is the general structure of an essay. That is the general structure of a report. Okay, and when we are writing a strong paragraph, use the PEE method. Always use a point or make your point, make a clear statement. Then you're going to use evidence to support with data or research. Explain or analyze, show how your evidence supports your point. Of course, editing, proofreading is crucial. Clarity is key. Short, precise sentences are more effective than very long, wordy ones. Always check for grammatical errors and proper referencing. Make sure you are using references and you are using them correctly. And last but not least, reflect and improve. Always reflect on your writing process. Think about how you started, how you felt during your writing, and how towards the end, how do you feel about it? And I think this is very important to do to keep you on track to being a better writer. Identify your strengths and your areas for improvement. So just don't solely focus on, oh, I'm really good at this, but then also like, what else can I need extra practice with? Okay. So I would recommend those takeaways from this slide. Thank you very much for joining today. And if you need assistance or you'd like to reach out to us, that's myself, Christine. This is my colleague, Kieran. Drop us an email and we will be more than ready to help you out with any of the following presentation skills, assignment skills, general academic skills. We're available in person and we offer online sessions. I hope this session was informative and you have enjoyed this workshop. Thank you very much.